Should you wash chicken eggs?
Hi guys, welcome. So this is the Dinosaur Omelet. I'm Christopher.
I'm Angela.
And we are answering that question, why or why not should you wash chicken eggs? If it involves chickens and it's a day that ends in Y, somebody's going to be causing a ruckus here on the internet. And man, washing chicken eggs is a usual bicker point. You get the yes, you got to wash, and no, you got to wash. And my answer is actually yes and no. So both of those you do have to wash and don't wash. In what circumstances is that going to apply? When a chicken lays an egg, it coats it in a protein and lipid protein compound, which we call the bloom. You may have heard that, the bloom. It's a protective coating. It's also known as the cuticle. Now, this is what preserves a chicken egg in nature. Angela, what does the bloom do? Why is a bloom fantastic?
It's a fantastic design because a chicken egg or an egg is porous. So a bloom will coat that egg shell and sort of seal the pores and prevent bacteria and organisms from going into the egg, which would compromise the interior of the egg.
Yeah, so important thing, think about it like logically. The chicken's laying an egg. What's the purpose of the egg? To make little baby chicks. You do not want bacteria getting into the egg, so it has a protective coating. Now, in reference to washing or not washing, when you wash an egg, what happens?
It removes that bloom, that coating.
Scientific chart! Yeah, so now you have a compromised egg, which is fine if you wash the egg. However, there's a thing you cannot do with a washed egg that you can do with an unwashed egg, which is...
What was the question? Sorry.
What can you do with a unwashed egg that you can't do with a washed egg?
You can leave an unwashed egg outside, unrefrigerated. A washed egg would need to be refrigerated.
Yeah, so a lot of folks keep their eggs out on the counter, which is perfectly fine because the bloom's still intact. It prevents the introduction of bacteria, and also it prevents the evaporation. So the moisture in the egg is going to be retained.
Now, you may be wondering, well, when does the bloom coat the egg? How does that work? As the chicken is laying the egg, it is naturally coated as the egg is coming out. So if you are able to see an egg being laid in the process of just being laid, second after it's laid, you'll see that it looks damp or moist, and then it'll just dry almost instantly. That's the bloom.
Depending on the temperature, it could take a few seconds to upwards of a minute almost, but yeah, that's the bloom. This is one of our chicken eggs, laid by a chicken, still has the bloom, and this is a store egg. I actually took it out of the fridge. As you can see, there's moisture condensating on it. Well, that's important. The reason I want to show you that, you guys, if you're putting your home fresh laid chicken eggs into the refrigerator and you haven't washed them, that's perfectly fine. However, if you take them out, what's happening? You take them out of the fridge, what's going to happen? You're making room in the fridge because you got too much junk? Take out my farm fresh eggs, sit them on the counter. 20 minutes later, they're
now sweating because they're now trying to adjust to the room temperature that's much warmer than the refrigerator.
Yeah. And so that's essentially washing the egg off. You've compromised that really magnificent and amazing coating, which is the bloom.
Scientific chart yet again.
Store eggs are washed. They wash them. Industrial eggs are washed. They're washed with a disinfectant, and they're recoated with a sealant, a wax type of sealant that they use to preserve their eggs, and then they go and stick them in the refrigerator and store them until they're ready to be sold. So yeah, it's true. Store eggs can sometimes be many weeks old, upwards of some months, okay, because they're sitting there and waiting to get sold. So you do have a little bit of an older egg coming from the store. This is a disgusting egg. This is a filthy egg. This is a duck egg. They should never look like this. Ducks, however, have a habit of doing a lot of what?
Eliminating.
Yeah, they eliminate a lot, and they walk in it, and then they lay eggs in their nesting box. So that's a very filthy egg. Absolutely, you're going to wash this egg because this is all bacteria. And then you're going to put it in the fridge because the bloom is compromised. Actually, this egg will still hatch, and none of the bacteria are getting into that egg, right? Even though it's filthy, because it has the intact, magnificent biological wonder called the bloom. So we do wash dirty eggs when they're very soiled. Your eggs sitting on the counter, they still have bacteria on them. They are still contaminated. I mean, I'm not going to do surgery with an egg, right? They're still, like, technically, they carry bacteria. So I'm not washing them to set them on the counter because it compromises the bloom and it allows the exchange of gases and bacteria will get in there. But I'll leave them on the counter dry, right? Now, when they're dirty and before you crack them, I got to say this. I mean, this is a technical true thing. When you crack an egg, you're introducing the exterior environment to the interior of that egg, right? So what comes from the exterior environment? Let me get my filthy egg. Filth, even filth. Okay, filth you can't see is still there. Bacteria is still there. So technically, even if the egg is looking perfectly clean and you crack it, you're introducing bacteria into the egg. So it is advisable, I have to say this, technically speaking, it is advisable to wash your eggs just prior to cracking them into the vessel that you're going to be mixing it up in. So you can avoid introducing any lingering bacteria. However, there are bacteria everywhere, and we as human, vibrant, wonderful organisms, we acclimate. We acclimate to the local fauna, the bacteria, the local flora and fauna that get onto us and we ingest. You go into a kitchen, you keep it real clean, it's filthy. There's still bacteria everywhere, and you're still exposed to these organisms, so you're probably not going to croak out. Now, me personally, I have never washed a filthy egg before cracking it, and I'm still standing, but then again, I walk around barefoot and put everything in my mouth. Is this true?
Just like a toddler.
So now we got through that. So we know you can wash eggs, you remove the bloom, and you got to stick them in the fridge. It is not necessary for your homegrown chicken eggs. Say, ma'am, I've had my eggs sitting out for quite a while. I think it might be bad. How do I test it?
There's a great way to find out how fresh your egg is. You can do what's called the float test. All that is you take a container of water and fill it with water. All that is a container full of water. Take your eggs, put them in the container. If they're the fresh as they're going to be, they're going to sink and they're going to lay horizontally on the bottom of your container. If they're somewhat not as fresh, they're going to rise up and be vertical, but still on the bottom of the container.
Are they okay to eat?
They are okay to eat.
When they're sitting up vertical?
Yes, they're still okay to eat. They're just not quite as fresh anymore, and you should probably eat them soon. If they're floating on the surface, they're not fresh anymore. It's possible they could even be cracked open. There's a hole, or maybe some of that liquid has evaporated out of the egg. We do not recommend eating those floating eggs.
Now, why is the egg floating at this point? It's been sitting on my counter for a while, and now it's floating. It wasn't floating before. Why would it float now?
Well, the interior contents of the egg has now shifted and changed. The eggs are porous, so the fluids in there will start to evaporate, and then the egg will naturally fill with some air.
Learned something new. Actually, I knew that, but I should have. So we mentioned that the egg's bloom seals it up, but yet there's moisture leaving the egg. How is this happening? I don't understand this. Bacteria are huge compared to water molecules and oxygen molecules, which are just a couple of atoms. They're very teeny tiny. So the bacteria is a gigantic thing that can't permeate that bloom, which is really a unique design, whereas the water and air can exchange. But it's tight enough that the water is not evaporating very rapidly. It's going to very slowly leak out, which takes some time. Okay, dinosaur omelet friends, I hope that little bit of information was useful. You get on the Facebook and everybody's fighting you over the should you or shouldn't you wash eggs. Well, there you go. That's our take on the egg washing deal. So, as usual, if you're new here, we really appreciate you stopping by. Hit the old sub button and the likey button down there. That'll let us know this was useful.
And let us know if you have any comments. Do you guys wash your eggs? Do you keep them on the counter? Do you put them in the refrigerator?
And more importantly, do you fight with strangers on Facebook about it? That's what I like to hear about. And be sure to check you out on Thursday night. We do live video, a lot of educational stuff, but it's open to Q&A. So if you're in town and you're bored on a Thursday, stop in for that too. I guess that's it. Anything else, wife?
No. Thanks so much, guys, for watching.
See you later, gang.
Bye.